My own sister made false accusations against me because I refused to supply alcohol for her party. This is a story from a few years back. I'm in my 30s now, but I was 22 at the time. My sister was 18, and my mom's favorite child. My dad was cool though, and he used to tease my sister a lot. But my mom always stepped in and let my sister get away with everything. This is what happened back then. My parents decided to go on a ski trip to Aspen and left my sister in charge of the house. They told her no parties, but she didn't care about that rule. The day after they left, my sister started inviting people to a party, and she said there would be free alcohol. I didn't see her post yet, but she called me and asked me to buy alcohol for her party because I was over 21 and could do it legally. She also wanted me to pay for it and said she would invite me to the party and hook me up with a loose girl as a reward. I told her that I wasn't going to do anything illegal for her. She shouldn't have promised alcohol to her party guests. She yelled at me on the phone that I was ruining her life and that she couldn't cancel the invites now that they were all over her Facebook. I checked her post and shook my head. I told her that she was being really dumb and that she and her friends were all underage, so it was illegal. She tried to say it was only illegal if I ratted them out. I said I wouldn't rat, but I also wouldn't buy her booze. She yelled at me some more, so I hung up the phone. That night, my sister had the party, and someone called the cops for underage drinking. After being arrested and questioned by the cops later on, my sister blamed me and said that I gave her the alcohol she had. It turns out she actually raided Dad's liquor cabinet and thought it was better to pin it on me. The cops came and arrested me at my apartment the next day. They seemed to think I was guilty and didn't really listen to me when I said I wasn't there, but I cooperated with them anyway. At the station, I told them the whole story and showed them my sister's Facebook post. Luckily, there were some people there who believed me, but I still had to spend the night in a cell while they called my parents. My mom and dad flew back home overnight and bailed out both me and my sister. But my mom wanted my dad to leave me in jail because my sister had lied to them too. But my dad talked to me and saw my sister's Facebook, so he trusted me. This caused a fight between him and my mom. When they got home, my dad found out my sister had broken into his liquor cabinet and spoke to the cops for me. My mom still wanted me to take the blame for my sister because, as she said, the charges were ruining her baby's future. But my innocence was more clear by the fact that I and my car were on CCTV when I left work. And when I got home soon after, as the apartment I was living in then had CCTV cameras to watch the parking lot. My car stayed there for the rest of the day and night. In my sister's story to the cops, I had driven out and gotten the alcohol for her, but I wasn't on CCTV in any liquor store in the county, and my bank account showed no transactions buying alcohol. My parents' house also had a camera at the front door, and my car was never in the driveway that day. After being faced with those facts, my sister's story changed to saying I already had the alcohol and gave it to her at my apartment. But my sister's car was never at my apartment either, and there were only 3 cheap beers in my apartment fridge and no hard alcohol. My sister finally had to admit her lies, and my parents were very upset with her. But my mom still tried to get me to take the fall for my sister. She showed up at my apartment and insisted that I confess to the police that it was all my fault. I said I wasn't going to sacrifice my future for my sister. She wouldn't leave and switched from insisting to pleading. She even got on her knees and tried to persuade me that she and my dad would fix everything in the end if I just took the blame now. I said I'd rather live my life poor than have that felony on my record. She had a huge tantrum and started throwing things because I wouldn't do what she wanted. I threatened to call the police, and she left my apartment swearing at me like a crazy woman. I've never heard so many F-bombs from her before or after, but she kept them up all the way to her car and topped it off with saying she should have aborted me before driving away. I called my dad right away and told him everything that happened. He was extremely angry and got in a big fight with my mom as soon as she got home. She didn't even deny anything she said or did because she thought it would have been for the best of their daughter. But my dad told her that she couldn't ruin me to save my sister. Then he threatened to divorce her if she didn't try to make things right. She ended up crying and then saying she'd do whatever he wanted. My dad said that it was either couples and family counseling or divorce. My mom signed a prenup before she married him and really had no choice. In the family counseling, I called her out on how she always believed my sister's lies. My sister tried to say they were not lies, but each one I pointed out from over the years proved otherwise. I'd taken the time to write a list of all the ones I could remember from the past decade that had all been shown she lied, and my mom and sister were forced to stay quiet as I read them all. They tried to interrupt repeatedly, but my dad and the counselor shut them up. My sister, now exposed beyond a doubt to be a liar and a manipulator, just closed off and refused to say anything more to the counselor. And my mom finally apologized to me, but it was clearly a fake apology because she looked so uneasy doing it. I told her that her apology was very insincere, and after so many years of favoritism, the damage was already done. My relationship with her never really healed, because she was convinced I was guilty no matter what was said until my sister admitted the truth, and then wanted me to act like I was the guilty one anyway to protect her favorite child. But nothing went her way, so she just went back to crying about it. When my sister went to court, my mom begged the judge to go easy on my sister for the charges of underage drinking and giving other underage people alcohol, as well as trying to frame me for her crime. She also resisted arrest when the police came and stopped the party. She was very drunk when it happened. They kept her in a cell overnight to sober up, and then she told the police I'd been the one to give her the alcohol. My mom's begging, along with the ruthless lawyer my parents hired, got the judge to make a deal, provided my sister plead guilty, which she didn't want to do. But her lawyer strongly advised her to take the deal to avoid jail time, because there was no other way of keeping her from getting a felony on her record. My sister's lawyer used the fact that the alcohol had not been purchased that day, but rather had already been in the house long before the party happened to help reduce the charges. My sister's Facebook had also been completely erased by her as soon as she could in order to hide the post. The judge just wanted the case over with, so my sister got off with a huge fine that our mom paid most of out of her own pocket and a couple years probation. She was also made to get therapy too by our dad. She's never really shown any regret for what she did though, and only had hostility for me, no matter how wrong she was. She was finally diagnosed as a narcissist after Dad forced her to see a doctor. After her probation and 4 years of college were done, she decided she was going to move to California and never come back once she got a good job. She now works in an office in LA, and we haven't talked in years. Dad got her that job, and she's not shown any real gratitude for it. Even my mom has given up on her ever coming home for the holidays, and us being a family again. It broke her heart for a few years, but now she's just resentful. She doesn't really blame me anymore, but we only seem to show apathy to each other. Just because my sister cut her off wouldn't make me the new default favorite. It just means my mom lost her baby and isn't getting her back. She can't leave my dad because she's too dependent on him, despite having her own career. She'd never want to be on her own again, so she's just become a shadow of her former self. Things between me and my dad are still great. He's pretty much disowned my sister for what she's done and has stopped caring if she'll ever talk to him again. He and my mom don't even sleep in the same bedroom anymore. She moved into the guest room some 5 years ago and has stayed there. Their marriage is really only one on paper these days. Info: giving alcohol to minors is a serious crime, but my sister did that with some booze she had stolen, and there were more than 12 underage drinkers. She also fought back when the cops came and lied to them, blaming me for everything. She was very fortunate that my parents got her a slick lawyer who got her a light sentence. She never showed any gratitude for that. The judge fined her for each minor she supplied with alcohol. It was a hefty sum, and the lawyer's fee was huge too. My parents had to pay a lot because of her. TLDR, my sister hosted a bash with illegal booze and got busted, lied to the cops that I was the one who got the alcohol, and only confessed when she had no choice. Then my mom still wanted me to take the fall for her. My parents almost split up. My sister got a slap on the wrist from the judge and took off to California after graduation, then cut off all contact with us, even our mom who always defended her. Update 1. My parents are rich. My dad is a big shot who owns a lot of businesses. One of them is a gas station in town. The town is full of cops who have nothing better to do. Some of the kids who got caught drinking at that party were their children. That made things worse for me when they showed up. My dad wanted to clear my name, so he pushed for a full investigation. I did my part and gave them some proof, like the CCTV from where I work, where I live, and my bank records showing I didn't get the alcohol. My dad did more. He got a lawyer to get the CCTV from every liquor store in the county for that day. My mom didn't want him to do that. It was too much trouble to show that my sister was lying, because she stuck to her story hard, even after my parents found out she took the alcohol from Dad's liquor cabinet. And yes, my parents paid a lot of money to get the court to drop most of my sister's charges. My sister only paid 10%. That's it. That's the only thing my parents made her do. They still paid for her college after that. So people who say this is rich, people drama, are right, because it is. I was in college too when this happened, but my dad made me work part-time to learn how to work hard, and he was right about that. My family is rich, but my dad didn't let me act spoiled growing up. I even got my first car with my own money from working part-time, but my sister was different. My mom spoiled her like a princess. The rest of the family hated her for what she did back then, so we didn't care much when she ghosted us, except for my mom. She cried about it a lot for a whole year. Update 2. This happened in the US, and it was dumb how the police arrested me. My dad gave them a piece of his mind about that, but the cops had nothing else to do, and the arrest was erased from my record after I was cleared. But as someone in the comments said, it's frightening how easily you can lose your freedom. I've stayed away from police ever since that happened. They must have thought arresting the son of a rich guy was a big deal. And no one got hurt from driving drunk. But my dad told me there were some DUIs because some of the kids there drove off. I heard some of them were the children of police officers. That made it worse for me. The cops who arrested me were both old, so maybe their kids were there. That might explain why they acted like I did it. Those who say this is not real, I wish you were right, because it's so ridiculous that it should be. But my sister ruined our family, and she almost ruined my name too. Now everyone in town has forgotten her. She lost all or most of her friends after that party because they all got arrested. Update 3. I thought I could just log out of this account and forget about it. But my sister saw my original post on YouTube. She called home and tried to cause a lot of trouble. She told our mother that I had embarrassed her, and to my surprise, my mom did not care. My sister showed her how to find the post, and she read it. And then she was angry at me, but mostly because she felt I made her look like a terrible mother again. But my dad stepped in and said I was not lying, because what she and my sister did back then was unforgivable. My mom agreed in a sad way, but she still said she wished I had never posted the story. I guess I couldn't blame her for that. I ended up talking to my sister on the phone because our mom gave her my new number, and the first thing she did when I picked up was yell in my ear. I hung up because of the yelling, and then she sent me a bunch of text messages. My sister wanted me to take my original post down. I said no. She said she would get our parents to make me take it down. But our parents already knew about the post, and our dad did not care, and our mom was more upset that I made her look like a bad mother again. So she said she would get a lawyer and sue me for defamation. I told her to go ahead. My post was anonymous, and if she sues, then a lot of people will find out my post was about her. She asked if I was threatening her. I said no. It's just something that will probably happen if people look into our pasts if she starts a lawsuit. It could even hurt her career. Instead of texting back, my sister called me again, and I told her I would hang up and block her if she yelled in my ear one more time. She angrily told me to just take my original post down again or else. I pointed out that this was the first time we talked in 6 years, and she had no problem blaming me for everything in the past. And now she's mad because her own actions are making her look bad when no one else knows the story was about her but us. And I really didn't care what she thought of me anymore. Dad has pretty much cut her off, and she ruined all the love our mom had for her as the golden child. My sister actually denied being a golden child, so I started to explain what that meant. She cut me off saying that she's on Reddit all the time. She knows what a golden child is. And I could only laugh at the fact that she knew that and still denied being one. I reminded her of all the things from my first post, how she lied a lot, how she always had our mother on her side, and how she was clearly our mom's favorite, and how she expected everything to be given to her. She was a golden child. There's no way around that. Well, she took this very personally and said that she wished our mother had killed me, just like she'd said all those years ago when I wouldn't take the blame for my sister's crime. I just laughed some more and asked if that was the best she had in her little book of nasty insults. She did not like that I found it so funny. I shot back about how she is a self-centered narcissist and always will be. She took so much from our parents and had no gratitude for it. Even that well-paid LA office job she's working that Dad got her. She sneered at me and said she got that job on her own skills. I laughed again. No, she did not. A well-connected LA firm just happened to find her several states away after college and hired her when she had no experience as an intern? That doesn't happen. The old CEO of that company was a friend of our dad's before he died, and Dad asked for a favor. That's how she got that job. My sister, of course, denied the truth I just told her, but she finally realized I was right. She's a narcissist, but she's not stupid. So she started to boast about how good she was at that job. She became assistant manager, and she's next in line to be manager someday? I didn't care, and she wanted to know why. So I told her that I've moved up to running one of Dad's smaller businesses completely. Sure, it was a promotion through family ties, but I worked hard to get it. And Dad said that when he dies someday, I'll get everything. Not that I'm eager for it, like she surely would be. I actually want our dad to live a long time. She was so mad that she hung up on me and then called our parents again. She asked Dad if he'd really cut her out, and they said he did. Dad's will is set to leave her only a little money so she can't fight it, and if she tries to fight it, she'll get nothing. Even our mom's will has left my sister out. My sister started crying and saying it wasn't fair, but both of our parents said that her blaming me all those years ago wasn't fair. Ghosting them after they paid so much money to save her from a felony and sending her to 4 years of college was unfair. They had nothing else they wanted to give. My sister blocked us all from phones to social media. We can't see anything now, but we don't really care. My mom has sat me down and gave me a long, overdue, more honest apology for what happened so long ago. Especially for that day she tried to make me take the blame for my sister, years without my sister in her life, and the recent incident has made her see more than ever that she was a horrible mother to us both, and she can't change anything. But she wanted to at least say she was very sorry, and that she loved me. She's just been too embarrassed to really show it. She's now finally looking for therapy, and she's even trying to spend more time with my dad, like in the old days. It's funny, really. My sister broke our family, and then she somehow fixed it by being the same kind of mean person she's always been. So sis, if you see this post, and I think you will, don't try to contact us again, because if you do, then any more trouble you make is gonna end up right here. So please leave us alone for the future. Update 4. My sister stooped to a new level of deceit with this one. A couple of months ago, she showed up at our parents' house with a boyfriend and a positive pregnancy test and said she was 2 months pregnant. She said she wanted to fix things so her child could know their grandparents. I knew what this was from the start. My sister got pregnant on purpose so Dad would put her back in the will, and Mom would make her the favorite again, but things didn't work out that way at all. It was in February when my sister arrived unexpectedly. She'd taken time off from work to visit us. She even tried to act all friendly around me, but I could still see the anger in her eyes. She still blamed me. She never stopped blaming me, but she acted like she'd changed her ways. Mom fell for her act, but Dad didn't at all, though my parents having a grandchild is something they've wanted for a long time. So they reluctantly welcomed my sister back for the time being, but not without checking if this was a scam. Spoiler alert, it was! My dad asked my sister to take another pregnancy test to verify. We thought she would refuse, but she took the one my dad got and used it willingly, and it was positive, so she was really pregnant. My parents wanted some time alone with my sister, so I went home and didn't see them again until the next evening. I got the details on what happened from my parents then. The night before, they'd had a long talk with my sister about all the things she's done, and told her that they will help support their grandchild and set up a college fund for them. But if my sister wanted a place back in the family, then she's going to have to work hard for it and show she's changed. Because it was clear with the timing of the pregnancy that she only got pregnant to try and get back in the family's good books. She denied this, of course, but her past actions showed otherwise. Our parents wanted her to seek therapy, both individual and group with them over video calls. And they also wanted her to apologize to me for what she did years ago, since she always refused to. That's when she finally snapped and said that I don't deserve an apology, because I'm the reason she ruined her life to begin with. Well, my dad didn't let that go and yelled at her, and then he told her that she was never thankful for anything they did for her, and that she was only blaming me so she wouldn't have to take responsibility for her own actions. My mom joined in and said that she had to acknowledge her own past actions were very wrong, like when she tried to make me take the blame for my sister back then so her baby wouldn't get in trouble, and how she'd said those awful things to me when I refused. And if she could honestly admit her wrongs, my sister could too. Well, my sister freaked out and left with her boyfriend. The few times I met the guy, I could tell he was only with my sister for the money, because she treated him like garbage. She even hit him in the stomach once, right in front of me. Anyway, my sister came back the next day with a long, fake apology for them, fake tears included. And again, the only reason our parents let her back in was because of her pregnancy. She was put back in her old room, and spent the next few days trying to act all happy, but her act was pretty bad. She still had to give me that long-awaited apology, and I met up with her and her boyfriend at a local restaurant our parents picked. We thought if she was to give me anything close to a real apology, it couldn't be around our parents. She started off the apology by barely speaking, and when her boyfriend asked her to speak up, that's when she hit him in the stomach, and hard too. He asked to be excused, and left us alone. As soon as he left, my sister started what's more of a fake apology, basically saying she was sorry for what happened with framing me, but that it wouldn't have happened if I'd just done what she wanted that day and gotten the alcohol for her party, and then we could have both had fun. I said that she still didn't understand. She blamed me, and when cops came for her, it had nothing to do with me. So if I had helped that day, then I would have been arrested and charged too. I stood up and said she still hasn't changed. She only lives in her little self-centered world and walked out. When our parents found out about this, my sister tried to lie about the words she'd said to me. But my dad knows the owner of that restaurant. We were seated away from other loud guests and were right under a CCTV camera with audio. It recorded everything. And my parents got the video within hours from the restaurant owner. They showed it to my sister and told her this is exactly why she's not getting much in the will. Her child might be, but not her. That's when she had a meltdown and left yelling at them. And this time, she didn't come back. She got in her car and drove all the way back to LA without another word to any of us. She later called to say her boyfriend had dumped her, and she didn't know where he was. As I thought, he was only with her for the money, and when their scam failed, he left her. So now my sister is around 4 months pregnant with her baby daddy gone. She's still sending our parents updates on the pregnancy. And my parents are having a very hard time dealing with the fact that their future grandchild is basically being used as a way for my sister to get back in. And sis, if you see this post, I did warn you that I'd do this if you tried anything else. You've made our mother sad all over again, our father very disappointed, and me as your mental scapegoat because you still can't admit it was all your fault you were disowned. You haven't changed at all, and I doubt you ever will. Final update. I know this story sounds very fake. I also know that selling one's child is not legal, but my parents found a way, and it involved more than one lawyer, and was called something like a financial settlement. Yes, it involved a lot of money, and my parents paid more than I hinted at before. It actually delayed my father's retirement by about 10 years. I can't guess the numbers, but I know property in California can be very expensive. There were also some questions about who is taking care of my nephew, and how. Let's just say that's complex right now. And once I'm gone, I will not return. Some people might think I enjoy doing this. I used to hate my sister and everything she did to me, but you can only sharpen an edge so much before it gets dull. Some time ago, my sister had a baby boy. She made sure we knew the gender early on, as well as sending our parents pictures of scans, and anything else that kept our parents' desire for a grandchild going. My sister only let our parents come to the hospital to see their grandchild at the birth. They had to take a quick flight to LA to be there. My sister also banned me from going. She said I'd ruined her life enough, she wished she had no siblings, wished me dead, all stuff like that over and over, and she doesn't want me near her ever again. Well, I feel the same way. But 3 months before the birth, my sister showed up again. This time, she begged our parents to let her in to talk, and not to tell me that time because she really didn't want me there. She only had 1 day before she had to go back to LA, and had driven all night. I wasn't there to see it, but from the details I got from my parents, my sister went to Mom and asked her to take her back into the family. My dad said that Mom barely wanted to look at her. Dad faced my sister and said that she didn't try to contact them in years, and that she was only back and even pregnant because it was all about the money to her. If she'd never seen my post, she would still be NC with us. Mom said that she wished for so long that my sister would come home to visit, or even just talk to her, but it was years of silence. She'd done everything for her. She'd favored her. She backed up her lies. She'd made sure she didn't get a felony in court. And yet my sister showed no appreciation. Dad agreed with this too, and even compared me to her, and how I at least appreciated my parents. Then he said that I'd been made a legal partner in the business he is having me run, and that I'm on track to eventually take his place one day. After that, my sister, I'm told, went crazy and was shouting about how it wasn't fair, and it should be her instead. Somehow she was still allowed to stay the night in her old room, and the next morning, she dropped this bomb on my parents. I heard her emotion was gone. I guess she didn't feel the need to keep up the act anymore. She said that she'd let Mom and Dad adopt her child in exchange for a house in Cali and an unknown amount of money that I don't know. And you know what? My parents agreed. But my dad had demands of his own. In return for the adoption of my nephew, my sister was to give up any and all rights to her son, sign a contract stating that she will have no part of the family ever again, and change her legal name. That last part really shocked me. Dad went so far as to pay for her name to be changed to separate her from the family. This meant getting all of her information changed, such as her diploma, college degree, passport, and anything else that ever had her name on it, all paid for by my parents. And as part of the deal, my sister could never change her name back, or even to something close. My parents did not cut any corners in this process. My involvement in it, though, was very little. My parents went to California to buy a house my sister liked, but she would not get the house until after the baby was born and in their hands. She was very unhappy about this, as she wanted to move into the house after she'd signed the deal, but our parents wouldn't have it. They gave my sister a week to sign, and she signed in front of a lawyer in less than 2 days. So as of then, I'm now an only child. I'm not gonna say I'm happy about that. I used to love my sister before she became a narcissist, but what's done is done, and I'm over it. My parents also found the baby's biological father to get him to give up his parental rights as well. My sister found out he went back to his hometown in Arizona after he left her, and my parents went to see him before the baby was born. He had no problem giving up his paternal rights after a DNA test proved he was the father. He must have still been working with my sister because he also wanted a house and a payout as a reward to give up his rights, though not as much as I'm told. My parents bought him a cheap house somewhere and paid him off. Well, I say cheap compared to the house they bought for my sister in LA. This was one costly baby to adopt. But as my dad said, it's worth every penny to make sure my grandson has a future. My dad sold one of his smaller businesses to a rival to get the money together without really hurting his other finances. The rival had been making him offers for years, and my dad wasn't that involved with the business anymore. So he finally took the offer, but only if they kept all of the employees already there, which they did. And now it's their name on the sign. But my parents didn't care because they've fully adopted my nephew. When the child was born, my sister didn't even want to hold him, and I heard her even once call the baby that thing, which was beyond mean. She even admitted she was planning to sell the baby in a private adoption to someone else if our parents hadn't agreed to do it themselves. She got her house and got her money, and then promptly cut contact all over again. So she's gone from our lives for good and no longer related to us. My mom was doing most of the parenting of my nephew till they can find a live-in nanny to help with the work since they're getting old. They needed help with a newborn, especially when they become a toddler. My mom is very happy, but my dad has made it clear to her that they will not make the same mistakes they did with my sister. No favoritism, no enabling bad behavior, no lying, and that the child will not ever know his real mother as she's dead to us. And if my sister ever tries to seek him out, she'd be breaking the contract and have to return the house, or its money value. So I doubt she'd bother to ever try. After the time she'd first shown up pregnant, my sister and I have only talked once more over the phone, and it was after my nephew was born. For the record, she called me to brag and tell me off one last time. I told her she was a delusional narcissist who only wanted to blame me because it's easier for her than facing reality. But she just acted smugly that it didn't matter what I said. She's gonna believe what she wants to believe. And she'd already won anyway since she got what she wanted. She still got a good career in LA, lots of money, and now a house. And all it cost her was a baby she didn't even really want. She can live however she wants now, and we can't do anything about it because we were no longer family. I ended the call and blocked her number. I was boiling with rage, but there was no use in continuing the fight. She had gotten what she wanted, in a twisted way, but what did she lose? She had no family left, and no one to support her if things went wrong for her. My nephew would not grow up as my brother, since I was more than 30 years older than him, so my parents wanted to emphasize that he was their grandson, and that we were his real family. Our aim was to make sure he never felt the need to look for his biological mother. She had abandoned him anyway, and it was better for him to know that from the start, rather than long for the mother he never knew. So this was it.